I have very dear friends who live nearby. They have several children. The youngest are 3-year-old twins. One of the twins, let's call him Philip Joseph, hypothetically, is rather bashful. So when I have visited, Philip has had the custom of burying his face in the cushion of the sofa. Then I wave and smile. "I see you, Philip." He giggles and hides even deeper in the couch. If his mom is holding him, "Philip, I see," into her shoulder, just completely disappears into his mom's shoulder. So recently when I visited, I opened the door and there's Philip, and he lit up. And he moved around saying, "Father's here, Father's here, Father's here." We have a convert. But the thing is that 3-year-old Philip Joseph need only grin at me, and I am defeated, completely captured by the grin. God decided to send his Son. "I will send my Son to them." The history of humanity is this struggle to be able to follow and love God. And so God chooses, "I will send my Son." And there is the most precious gift of God, concealed in fragility and dependence in the womb of Mary. There is the greatest treasure of God given to us in the poverty and rejection of the manger in Bethlehem. Some people have this mentality that God is like the middle school principal, and he's watching what you do, and if you cross a line, you get called into his office, and he sits you down, and he's got a big finger to wag at you. "I know what you did, and you're going to be in detention for eternity." But God isn't like that. The gospel, the readings today, they have an edge. They have this edge. The kingdom of heaven will be taken from you and given to a people who will bear fruit. But what is the context? There's a very beautiful line in the first reading. "What more could I have done for my vineyard? What more could I have done for my vineyard?" What is God really like? The highest calling that you and I have is to love God. To love God. Not just to follow his word or obey his commandments or be kind to other people, but to love God. And all of the joy, all of the peace, all the fullness of life is right there in loving God, who has already loved us. But in the messiness of human history and human life, somehow it just seems like a struggle to love the one who's invisible, or to love the one who seems absent, or to love the one who at times seems difficult to trust. We doubt. And there is the voice of love saying, "But what more can I do? God is the one who actually helps us to love Him, because that is our deepest joy, our highest calling. Some people imagine that loving and following God creates conflict in life, like a tension between loving God and loving spouse and family, loving friendships and loving the beauty of being alive. In loving God, we discover who we really are. And there is nothing whatsoever to fear in giving ourselves back to God in love. And God is smart, so He comes to us in little ones like Philip Joseph, and He defeats us. Jesus, frail, tiny in the womb of Mary. Jesus, the gift of God in Bethlehem, worshipped by shepherds. Jesus, the boy playing with Joseph outside the home in Nazareth. Jesus, the child found in the temple, walking home with Joseph and Mary. So close, so unassuming. All that Philip has to do is grin. And I'm clumsy. And I am defeated by the grin. All of my preoccupations, all of my anxiety, all of my self-absorption just disappears in that face. God sent His only Son. God so loved the world that He sent His only Son not to condemn the world, but that the world might have life. God so loved the world that He gave us a face to be able to love without fear. A face of innocence, a heart of purity that just melts our own hearts. God does everything conceivable and beyond to help us to love Him, because that is our joy. That is how we feel most alive and most know ourselves. I'm Irish, and I'm a curmudgeon. It's a bad combination. It's a wonder people show up to church at all. The Christian life is not hard. The Christian life is not hard. It's joyful. It's joyful. Now, I want you to do something totally dangerous. Imagine right now what your life would be like if it bore the fruit that you really wanted. How would you think about yourself? What would you look like? How would you speak? If your life were going to bear that fruit that you really want to right now. Don't think for a second about how that's going to happen, but just indulge the vision of your own holiness already burning in you. I have this passionate desire that with the time that I have left, more priests would just love to be with Jesus in prayer and then walk out of their prayer and face their people with Philip's grin. With Philip's grin. And giving living witness, with or without words, to the beauty of God. God wins us over with beauty. And please God, we might have more joyful priests, no matter what's going on, no matter where we are, who see God there and then look at people with such tenderness. I have no idea how to do that. I'm sarcastic and Irish. I'm a curmudgeon. Lots of priests don't call back. But that would be a worthy life. What about you? What is that fruit of your life that is so tempting, so attractive, it's almost painful to think about? Because it's hard to imagine how. How will this be? What more can I do for my vineyard? God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, that the world might have life. God wants to make it easy to love him and to radiate that love without measure every day. If I become a tiny bit holier, it's all Philip's fault, because he defeats me with a grin. That's how God wins us over. I will send them my Son. They can't resist.